All right, so we are back, and today's a video a lot of you have been waiting on. I have admittedly been a little busy with things outside of YouTube, but more of that will be answered later this week, and I'm finally getting around to doing this video. It is a breakdown of Jake Paul's next opponent, W.A.D.E. Quite frankly, there's not a lot on the internet about this guy, but I found some interesting things and a little bit more detail as to what you can expect from this guy that's Jake fighting and why, despite his record, he will probably be a considerable underdog. And speaking of underdogs, before we get into the breakdown, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video one day before Thanksgiving, and that is none other than Underdog Fantasy. That's right, guys. Underdog Fantasy is the best and easiest way to play fantasy sports. For your fantasy drafts, there is no waivers, no trades, and no lineup set. And you can draft those teams in minutes. For the pick'ems, it is a pretty simple process. You guys pick higher or lower on your favorite or not so favorite players between 2 and 5 picks. Get every pick right and you're taking home some cold hard cash. And when you use code WADE right now, you're going to get up to $100 in deposit match bonuses from Underdog. And if you go right now to Underdog Fantasy, you can take part in eligibility for the $300K airdrop from Underdog Fantasy going on this Thanksgiving. All you need to do to be eligible for this airdrop is make sure you make a pick'em entry, again using code WADE, between now and tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's right, Thanksgiving Day, 5:30 Eastern Time. Once again, thank you to Underdog for sponsoring this video. Make sure you guys use code WADE. And of course, as always, you must be of legal age to play on Underdog. Please, please, I stress, gamble responsibly. Once again, thank you to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. And now, let's get back to the breakdown. Like I said, from one underdog to another, W.A.D.E. has a tall task in front of him. And I'm going to explain why that is no pun intended and why, if he can do this, he legitimately will shock the world. What do I mean? The breakdown. Let's go. All right, so let's get more in depth with Jake Paul's next opponent, W.A.D.E. One, he's 35 years old. Yeah, he's not a spry chicken, a little bit older for a guy that only has 10 wins, 1 loss. Now, I know at this point you're probably starting to say, another old guy that Jake's trying to go fight. And to be fair, again, he's not the youngest in the world, but he does have 11 fights under his belt. He's also 5'10", and at cruiserweight, that's a bit of a shorter fighter. I haven't actually seen any footage. We're about to take a look for the first time, but that size discrepancy, Jake, I think, is 6'1", will be a factor in a fight where Jake is usually will have a size advantage, whether it is his height or just his body mass. I think Anderson Silva, Tyron Woodley, Nate Diaz, he's a bit bigger. So again, height-wise here, there's a bit of an issue with W.A.D.E. and I'm interested to see how much of a reach disadvantage there'll be. Because the one thing out of a pro boxer that gave Jake a lot of problems was Tommy's length and his volume. If somebody doesn't display those same attributes, it'll be interesting to see what this guy can bring that would give Jake problems. And then we get to his record. Like I said, he's 10-1. It's a pretty impressive record for a guy that Jake would be fighting in only his 9th fight. But that record is, to be fair, a little bit bloated compared to a younger high-level prospect. Does that mean that this guy is not a good test for Jake? No. And I know what the community that watches me is already going to say. Wade, this is Jake's Joe Fournier. And on the surface, that may be true as far as the little bit older in age, less experience for that age, and a pretty decent to impressive record, with maybe the record itself not being as impressive as the opponents they beat. Because I'm looking down the list here, and from what I can see, there's only one opponent on W.A.D.E.'s record that actually still has a winning record. He has 2 here, and we're actually going to watch one of these guys right now, but you see that this guy, Santario Martin, doesn't have a winning record as of this point. And again, his opponent's record doesn't necessarily reflect his record, right? It's rampant in boxing, but again, there's nothing super special about the wins on W.A.D.E.'s record, except for this win over Brandon Martin, which did happen this year and is the only fight he's had in 4 years. This guy, Brandon Martin, is 7-1, does have 5 KOs, is a bit taller than W.A.D.E., but again, is a little older, and for that age to have that record, it is a little bit of a red flag to say, well, how much of a career is this guy going to have in the sport? But nonetheless, it's a good win, and that height, 6'4", is what's given me a little bit more indication as to what I'm looking for here. But before we get into the ins and outs of what I actually think about this opponent pick and where this takes Jake's career, let's actually look at W.A.D.E. and his boxing skill. Then we can get to where this road takes us. All right, so here is W.A.D.E. These are just highlights, right? There's nothing super crazy. Decent hand speed, right? Big right hand, big, strong-looking guy. Bit of happy feet. But definitely wants to walk forward. Probably has a ton of power. in some of these shots, and you can see already there's not a ton of setup, but there is a lot of movement to get to a lead hand. And it seems like this will be a big factor, his lead hand, right? And even there, you see him roll under right hand to left hook to right hand, and he's looking to take a freaking head off someone's shoulder with that right hand. It wasn't the most balanced shot, and you can tell that because our head is over our toes and our foot is off the ground. If this guy pulls and throws this right hand, probably lands it. But nonetheless, August walks forward. Hey, good shots there. Throwing some hammers, though. Just teeing off here, yeah. Good fluidity here, you know, in the back and forth, the transition from shot to shot. Boom, boom. He's throwing with intent here. Boom, boom. And again, you see he's a bigger guy. He's developed very well, but Jake has fought guys with big-time power and muscle mass. This is not something that, again, he hasn't seen before. And that's the big question. Are we going to get something Jake has never seen before, right? When we're watching somebody like Andre August, he does have a bit more boxing technique than anybody outside of Tommy Fury and maybe Anderson Silva that Jake has fought. Anderson a bit awkward anyway, but way, that's a big shot. This is a bona fide big shot and great setup behind it, right? You see Andre here, he feints that jab, gets his reaction. Boom, hook over the top. Really good stuff. And this is what I thought when I watched him throw that first lead hook, is that it looks like it's a go-to for him. Looks like he really generates a lot of power out of it, snaps it over, boom, big time shot. And good God, that full hit the dirt. Nice hook to the body too. Shows decent enough variety in his work as well, right? He's working downstairs and upstairs. And Jake sometimes will catch himself on the ropes here and throw up that high guard. He did it walking backward versus Anderson Silva, did it walking backward versus Tyron Woodley. Obviously, he's gotten better with that, and that showed in the Nate Diaz fight, his ability to use his feet, circle, jab, going backward. But you don't want to get caught on the ropes with a big puncher and a guy that understands how to throw variety to move your guard around like August seems to do here, right? He sees a high guard. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to go to the body. You drop the guard. Boom, I'm going to the body again. Again, not bad work here. Goes upstairs. Good with both hands here in close, but you can tell he definitely likes to fight in the phone booth. Definitely inside work, and what I'm seeing from his stature shows me that he's not going to be great fighting at range, at least not with Jake. This is why he's so close and pressuring like he is, and again, fighting down on the mouthpiece and willing to trade. Looks like he has this guy hurt. There goes the mouthpiece. But this is a better indication. We might watch this whole fight, or at least, you know, break down more of it, because this is a 6'4" guy that he fought. Not that Jake is 6'4", but it'll be a better indication as to how he manipulates range and gets to what I assume would be the inside for himself. He just walks in there. I mean, it's a decent enough feint, but just no response here from his opponent, and he throws this right hand, lands that over the top. Definitely got some pop on the shots. Again, a combination, but you see where he likes to be. He likes to be in close. Phew, my goodness gracious. Boom, double jab right hand. That lands flush. And he wants to be right here in the phone booth, dogfighting. That's good stuff. I mean, again, he's not the most polished boxer there ever was. And he's also 35, a little short for the division. Doesn't look like, at least from this, that he has a ton of variety in his entries, but you see some feints. You see him throwing big-time power. So I don't care what the narrative is. He's dangerous. Guy has some punch power. You can see it. But again, he is beatable. And I expect Jake to win this fight, no doubt about it. But for what they're going for, this guy provides a threat. A threat level that I haven't seen from other fighters at the influencer boxing level outside of a guy like Tommy Fury. Maybe the danger if he let his hands go a little more of a Tyron Woodley. I haven't seen a guy with this level of a threat, right? Because he has some punch power. There's not a lot of guys that we've seen at influencer boxing have this kind of punch power in one hand, right? He works the body. Again, he's a little bit clumsy, but then goes uppercut with that, goes body, and then back upstairs with the lead hand. And no, he's not like George fucking Foreman in there or anything, and I'm not trying to make it sound like he is, but he doesn't look like he's very scared to stay in the pocket here. Like, he eats a punch here. Boom, cool. Eats a left hand right here. And Jake could certainly land that punch, but he's like, cool, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to keep throwing. So it's a good and bad thing. Obviously, you don't want to stay in the pocket. Oh, that was a beautiful body shot there. And I do like that he works the body. Sitting down on stuff. There's not a ton of setup, but he's throwing with, like, intent behind everything. Again, I know this is stuff from 4 years ago, I'm sure. So again, I don't know if this is the same guy we're dealing with 4 years later. But from what I can see, or what we have footage-wise, it looks like a good test for Jake. It does. I know that people want me to say he's Joe Fournier. That guy looks way more threatening to me than Joe Fournier ever looked. I'm sorry. I didn't see that kind of intent behind Joe Fournier's punch. I didn't see that kind of body work. I didn't see that kind of power from Joe Fournier. I just didn't see that. And that would be the big threat that this guy brings. It's not this guy's the greatest technical boxer. His footwork doesn't look the greatest. He looks a bit clumsy. And he will willingly eat shots as he tries to land his. Not the greatest strategy, but it looks like a guy that wants to brawl. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that we've seen a guy like this fight Jake yet. Like, Nate wanted to be in Jake's face and throw some punches, but there wasn't a devastating amount of power there, right? Tyron Woodley had a devastating amount of power, but wasn't in Jake's face really throwing combination punch. And those things are multifaceted, right? You don't stay in range with Jake because you don't want to get hit with a big one, but also by not staying in range with Jake, can't get to him and damage him. So it's a risky game to play. But this guy, again, from what I'm seeing, looks like he's willing to play. All right, here's some more footage of him versus the taller 6'4" guy. I just want to see him move around versus a taller opponent. And again, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but you see the head movement. He gets off center. He's able to bend at the waist, loses that jab, and comes upstairs with a short hook. This right here is exactly what he wants to go to with Jake, 100%. This is his bread and fucking butter. Head movement on the inside. Underneath the right hand, left hook over the top. It's simple, but he throws it with malintent, and it hurts motherfuckers. And again, you do see some of the flaws here, where he is a bit flat-footed, right? Like, you stand like this in front of Jake, and he's going to jab right hand you. He's absolutely going to throw shots. And you watch him kind of walk forward here, non-threatened. And this guy looks to throw a cheeky right hand down the pipe here, but my man Andre Agassi don't give a fuck about none of that. This is where he wants to live, right there on the inside. And again, I can't say that he's anything special, but he's also not the worst thing in the world, right? Like, yeah, he lunges on some of these shots. Like the right hand step into range. There's where Jake would probably look to that uppercut. Boom, swings a big left hand and misses it. Like, he's going for broke, legitimately, on most of these shots. He wants to take your fucking head off. And this is what I'm talking about with the clumsiness, right? The same thing we just saw. He's very much weight on his front foot, tries to go 1-2-1 there, and just walks himself into the ropes. The footwork is the most concerning part of what you're seeing from Andre Agassi. Everything is loaded up, right? Watch him kind of just lean into range here, right? We're walking in, big step into range, eats a jab for it. It's like, don't give a fuck, I'm throwing my shit. Here comes a left hand over the top, right hand. He doesn't even see where he throws it, but he just fucking throws it out there and hopes to catch a chin. Does the same setup, jab. This one he sees because his head's actually up, and he lands it. So again, it's almost like a battering ram into the front gate of the fucking castle. He's just looking to get in. Regardless what it costs, regardless what it takes, he's going to walk into range. If he takes shots for it, he's willing to live with that. And to be honest, that's kind of a perfect stylistic matchup for a guy like Jake, because what he struggles with is a guy with good footwork, a guy that can outbox him, a guy that will go in and out of his range and work his jab and push Jake back with his boxing, not just with walking forward. Go back again to the Tyron Woodley fights. Watch Tyron Woodley just walk Jake around the ring without any real setup, and Jake utilized that forward movement to walk him onto a right-hand counter. I could easily see Jake doing the same thing here to Andre Agassi. This is where I would be interested in Andre Agassi's chances, though. When we're in the clinch, Jake's clinch work has gotten better, right? It was better, especially against a guy like Nate Diaz, but it always has lacked a little bit. It's very much tie up and then referee separate, get back to the jab range, work there. But I will be interested to see how this works against a guy like Agassi, who looks to almost exclusively land here in the clinch and go from downstairs to upstairs, back downstairs, show some variety. And Jake hasn't seen much of that in a fight. I'm sure he's seen it in the sparring room and all that, but he hasn't seen it in a fight. So that'll be another thing that you're looking at as Jake progresses in this boxing scene, if he can handle something like that. To sum him up, again, just from what I'm seeing, he's willing to play the 50-50s. He's willing to get hurt by trying to hurt someone. He's a battering ram. He's clumsy, but knows what he wants to get to. His lead hand, the body work, variety upstairs and down. There's not much super special about his boxing ability, but all in all, he wants to brawl. And like I said, while it is a threat to Jake, it almost makes for the perfect opponent for him to knock out cold. So with that being said, let's talk about why. Why is Jake doing this fight? To be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure. And that doesn't mean I don't know why Jake in his mind is doing it, because he's told us. He's told all of us that he wants to become a world champion. And if his name wasn't Jake Paul, this is a kind of a fight he would be taking right now. As a 7-1 growing prospect or younger fighter in boxing, you would take fights equivalent to the level that you're at. And this is a fight to gain experience. This is a fight to test himself. And this is a fight to build toward whatever it is he is doing to become a world champion in his mind. Now, with that being said, is that a real possibility that he becomes a world champ? I've said no for a long time now. I don't believe he will be, but I can't hate the man trying to accomplish a goal and wanting to go after it. And if this is his way of doing that, then fair play. And I'm excited to be proven wrong. Like, I don't say things like, I don't think Jake's gonna become a world champ to like point and laugh if that doesn't happen. I say it because I just truly don't think that's the case. And if I'm happen to be proven wrong, I'm excited about that. But I've always been on the other side of the path with this and thinking that Jake, KSI, Logan are the big three as far as pay-per-view sales, and that Jake can still build experience while fighting big time draws. I honestly, right now, if it was me, I would have tried, and maybe they did, to make Jake versus Jorge Masvidal. That would have been the fight that I think could have killed two birds with one stone for him. Yes, Jorge's a little older. Yes, he's retired from the UFC, but he is probably one of the higher level strikers Jake has ever seen. And it does keep Jake with some of the bigger names in combat sports so that his star is elevated by their star and vice versa. Because if he loses to a guy like Andre August, it's different from losing to a guy like Tommy Fury, who does have a big name, who is a, yes, I'm gonna do it, fighting Fury man, and does have a bit of a name in not only the boxing realm, but the social media realm. And now with the KSI win, he's fucked it all up. I could argue the stakes for this one are even higher, because while it's not a massive pay-per-view event, it's still a lot more for Jake to lose than he ultimately gets from winning. Sure, he gets the respect of beating a 10-1 pro boxer. Sure, he gets the accolade from pro boxing heads that he beat a boxer, and maybe mentally the respect is a big deal to him, more so than, again, the drawing of money and putting on the big blockbusters, which I still think he's going to do. But I got to admit, while I'm excited to see what happens in this thing, as far as Jake's star power, this one didn't make the most sense for me. Maybe if he goes out and has a spectacular performance, massive knockout, gets on the mic, calls out KSI, then we're right back where we were. If we're gonna be real about it, the fight we all really want has always been and still is Jake Paul versus KSI. And just like the ping pong ball that is them fighting everybody but each other, it's now on Jake. For now, Jake has to fight Andre August, win, then it takes just one call to make. We all want it, but does it happen? I think so. I think we're still on track for that, but I don't have those answers. So for Jake Paul, Andre August, you're going to have to tune in December 15th as he takes on a real boxer. Whatever's next on that career journey for Jake Paul, guess we'll find out.